What's the value of a new client to your firm over the next 12 months or the next 5 years? What does it cost you to generate and manufacture a new client to bring them into your firm in the first place? If you were trying to sell your practice, what would you tell the buyer when they ask, what is the cost of sales? What is your manufacturing cost? What is the projection on your expenses today for their value over the next 5 years? Let's talk about how to answer these questions very, very simply.
This is The Rare Advisor, proud to be a part of the Advisor Advancement Network and home of a business model supercharged by recurring and repeatable events. Your host is Mike Walters, CEO of USA Financial. He is an investment advisor representative of and securities are offered through USA Financial Securities, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Do you know your cost of acquisition? It's the only way that you can identify your return on investment, your ROI. And you have to understand how to mathematically calculate the various steps in your marketing funnel so that you know what your true costs are. And because that's the assembly line that's inside of your intangible business. We're in a professional industry. We don't make widgets for a living. We don't have a factory floor. We don't have a bunch of physical equipment. We have the assets of our clients. The relationship with our clients are the assets in our business, or the portfolios that we're managing are the equipment in our business, if you will. So for us, we need to be able to identify what are the costs of acquisition. Just like the widget factory has to know what its cost of sales is or its cost of manufacturing. What does it cost you to manufacture the next new client for your firm? So Financial Advisor IQ just came out with an article here in January, and they're claiming that the average advisors on average are paying $743 per new prospect. But they also are using some of the terminology interchangeably when they shouldn't. Kind of a tipping of the hat to the fact that they've never been in the field, whoever authored this particular article, because there's a huge difference between a prospect and a new client. So in one breath, they say it's a prospect cost. Another breath, they say it's an acquisition cost. Another breath, they say it's a new client cost. They also then say that RIAs spend on average a little over $1,000 per client. So I can't tell you specifically based on the vagueness of this article if they're referring to a prospect cost or an actual new client cost. But that doesn't really matter because the conversation for us here today doesn't change. So very simple. Start with your lead costs. What does it cost to generate a lead? Secondly, from there, go to a first appointment cost. What does it cost to generate the lead? And then what does it cost to get the first appointment? Not every lead is going to become a first appointment. So the first appointment is going to cost something more than the generation of the lead. And then what does it cost to get a second appointment? Because not all first appointments are going to lead to a second appointment. So the second appointment, in theory, is going to cost something more likely than the first appointment. And then for most advisors, that's kind of a jump-off point. So from the second appointment, I would then say, what is the cost to sign a client to the firm? So you get the acknowledgement that they're physically coming to the firm. And then from there, and again, that cost will be higher than the second appointment cost. And then from there, I want to identify what is the cost to fully bring on an entire household. Because again, sometimes you might just get an account or two. You're not getting the whole portfolio. So what does it cost to bring on the portfolio or the household to your practice? And then you can identify what your return on investment is, because you also know what you spent to get those leads, what you spent during that process, so you can get your return on investment. Now, you're going to look at this from a 1-year standpoint, but then you should also look at it, I would say, a 1, 3, 5, and 10 at your absolute minimum. Because again, commissionable stuff, you're going to get paid within that first 12 months. So you're going to see that front end loading, if you will, of your revenue stream. But then for your recurring revenue, your assets under management, your assets under advisement, you're going to see that fee stretching out for hopefully years and years and years to come. And so it's important to calculate beyond the first year. Let's look at the 3-year, the 5-year, the 10-year. And then from there, I want to identify what is the average lifespan and average revenue for a client of the firm. So that I know today when I generate that first lead, I can now project that all the way through the pipeline, and I can identify what the value of that lead will be over the next 5 years as it factors into first appointment, second appointment, bringing on a client, bringing on the assets, and then getting paid on the first year as well as for multiple years beyond that. So then I've got true value in my process. I can point to it. I can say, hey, if I push this button and I pull this lever, here's what happens. And here's how that math projects out, not just over, will I get the next appointment, but actually throughout the next 12 months, throughout the next 36 months, throughout the next 60 months, and beyond. And then you have something of true value because you have a predictable practice. And that's what this is all about. We want to get to make sure that we have a predictable practice underfoot.
This information is for licensed financial professionals only and is not intended for use in soliciting sales from the public. The views expressed represent the opinions of the presenter or their featured guest, not necessarily those of USA Financial or its affiliated subsidiaries. Industry references are generic and not intended to represent actions or beliefs of any individual or entity. Content is only presented to illustrate general principles, beliefs, or ideas and should not be construed as legal or regulatory advice. Trademark and copyright protected. USA Financial and Affiliates.